NRIs, we believe. I have taken plane. I have left India. I'm living in another country. I'm an NRI. No, it is not. They never logged into the portal. They never saw what kind of notice they have received. They did not bother answering them. So that straight went to the proceedings, complicating the matter. Plunder that they do is they take up real estate back home. Your portfolio will keep giving you 1 crore whether you want it or not. It's the first country where they have allowed living relationship. Even if you are not married, you can live together in Dubai. In the most developed countries, to set up the business, it would take somewhere around 10 to 12 days. It is 4 days in Dubai itself. I would say few hours.
Hello everyone, welcome to Staying Indian, the NRI podcast. Now today here I have a very special guest with me, Keerthana. Keerthana lives in Dubai. She lives in Middle East region for past 14 years. She has a plethora of knowledge on when it comes to NRI investing. She is a SEBI registered mutual fund expert who helps NRIs to invest into mutual fund depending upon their goals. We'll learn more about NRI investing and about how to live in Dubai, and we'll know more about moving to Dubai, how to open a company there, about taxations in Dubai, and a lot more. Welcome, Keerthana.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I'm living in this region from past 14 years. I've been in Dubai from 2018, and before that I was in Bahrain as well as Oman. So I'm a CS and CMA from UK, and also SEBI registered MSD. And I'm a finance content creator. Through my firm, the consultancy, we do help NRIs all over the world in tax planning as well as investment through mutual funds in Indian equity.
So can you tell a bit more about how does investment planning goes through your consultancy?
Yes, Gaurav, actually, I'm a SEBI registered MFT. So that means I am licensed to route NRI investment through mutual funds. Why mutual funds? Because see, equity was always perceived as speculative asset by many of the people. So they feel that if I put money in any listed company shares, so I'm going to lose it. So it's just like gambling for them. Mutual fund, when it comes to the risk management as well as diversification, it's the best way to take exposure to equity for me. So this is where I can tailor something to the goal. And if somebody comes and says that I want to plan for my kids' education or marriage or my retirement planning after 20 years. So this is look at the time horizons, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So mutual funds are really, really helpful for that. They are the best vehicle for that. So in past decade also, given the stellar performance, actually it is 12 at the minimum, bare minimum level, 12% at the bare minimum level, average had been 40. Now it's going at 18% compounded for most of our investors. So this is a very good range. In case if you really want to build a portfolio and corpus by the time you retire. So I have decided to spread financial awareness through my content. So I talk about FEMA, which are must, because when I started content, I even realized that most of the people didn't even have NRA or NRO, the bank accounts, which is must for every NRA. In case if you don't comply with that, the penalty can go up to 3 times. For example, if you have 15 lakhs rupees, then you will end up paying 1.5 crore rupees as penalty. So most of the people were unaware of it. So about the residential status, because NRIs, we believe, I have taken plane, I have left India, I'm living in another country, I'm an NRI. No, it is not. It is actually based on few conditions which Indian taxation mentioned. FEMA comes into the picture. And see, in case if the stay in India exceeds certain number of days also, you end up becoming resident. And in case of resident, the global income gets taxed. So most of the ignorance, unaware of, when a person is not aware of all these provisions, they invited a lot of problems. So I aim to spread awareness about investing and FEMA and taxation. And my firm always helps with tax advisory, planning, and
That's a really great initiative, and I agree. You need to consult an expert in these matters, because especially I read a survey. 60% of Indians plan to go back to India for their retirement, and when you go back to India, you will face all these issues. So it's better to plan now and plan it accordingly. But unlike India, which is going through its own reform and its own pace in terms of technological development and all sorts of development, I think in Dubai also it's going through some kind of reforms. And I heard that there is a D33 plan, which is towards 2023 as their goal year. Can you shed more light upon what D33 is?
D33 is an economic agenda set up by the government of Dubai. So they want to attract a lot of foreign direct investment towards this. So if you see the recent economic corridors announced, as well as the sustainability initiatives which are hosted by the government of Dubai, so they are all aligning with this. They want to be one among the top 3 global cities before 2030. So they are, attracting a lot of private investment, FDIs, etc.
Nice. Those are some ambitious goals, right? And I think with Dubai, it goes, the saying goes, when Dubai says it will do, it does, right?
During COVID, I think Dubai was one of the government. Actually, I would say that it is a case study. When the entire world was, analyzing the problem, they were the first one to decide that how to handle it, and we have to be the first one to open up the economies. I know how aggressively they went on vaccinating, finding the solution. When the problem comes, they run behind the solution. So they went on aggressively vaccinating, sanitizing everything, did a lot of reforms. For example, even the visa reforms. Before 2019, it was something else. And after 2019, you will find completely changed circumstances here. See, before COVID, largely the visa was linked to employment. So that has led to large exodus of highly talented people during COVID. So government has realized that if you want high net worth individuals, high experts, talented people to live in Dubai, to make Dubai as a home, then you have to give predictability for long-term planning also. So they came up with a lot of visa reforms also.
I see there are a lot of new industries which are in focus in Dubai as well. Can you highlight some of the industries that Dubai is focusing to excel apart from the oil and gas?
Gone are the days where it has just remained as oil and gas. See, oil and gas, hospitality, tourism, real estate, that had always been the center of attraction. And it was economic engine. Now, if you say they have also shifted their focus on becoming education hub, healthcare hub, even AI, crypto, blockchain technology. So there are scopes almost, I would say that in everything. In today's time, if I have to say, it's spread out across. It's not limited to oil and gas, everywhere.
Yeah. And you also talked about doubling the population by 2033, right? And when you have such ambitious goals, you have to create a lot of opportunities, and that means a lot of opportunities for Indians as well. And especially when we are doing this podcast called Staying Indian for Indians, what are some of the opportunities that Indians should look forward if they want to move to Dubai?
Gaurav, it is spread across every industry right now. If for doctor comes, healthcare sector, even the nurses, it is paid very well for nurses also here. And I have seen even many blockchain as well as crypto and into AI. People, the Abu Dhabi has an ambitious goal of becoming a tech hub. So they are sponsoring a lot of research. So many people who are specialized in it, they are relocating to Abu Dhabi. And usually here, marketing sales, that's one of the top paying job, I would say. You always have scope here. But even education sector, they want to become education hub. So there are a lot of reforms going on. And I think in every sector, you have an opportunity here. If you have a skill set which is required by that industry, then you are employable.
I think for entrepreneurship as well, Dubai serves as a good ecosystem for startups. Can you talk about some of the taxation reforms that Dubai did?
Regarding this entrepreneurship, I'm saying, see, from 2019 till now, if you compare, the number of licenses issued, it had gone up by 75%, it seems. So that is close to 412,000 licenses, active licenses, business licenses, which were granted by the authorities of Dubai. So this volume itself tells you that it has become a top priority for many business people. I would say that ease of setting up the business is also there. It's one of the criteria. Talking about my own experience, to Gaurav, I applied all the documents just one day before. Morning, I took an appointment. I went to the free zone. Sat there. Before I finished my black coffee, my license was there. It's few hours, not even 2 to 3 hours, I would say. So it's so hassle-free. It's the predictability. You know that you go to this office, and before that, if you can set up a call with them and understand which area of the business activity they can issue license, and if you can get license from them and submit all the documents for their verification, it's 1 to 2 hours. I was also reading somewhere that in the most developed countries, to set up the business, it would take somewhere around 10 to 12 days. It is 4 days in Dubai itself. I would say few hours. And in Dubai also, before, there were some restrictions on setting up the business in mainland Dubai. There, the foreign ownership, like if you want to set up your company, then the ownership was capped at 49%. Now 70 to 80%, unless and until it is of some strategic importance to the government, it is waived off. There is no such requirement. With 100% ownership, you can set up a business. So in mainland, you can set up. There are a lot of free zones which compete with each other. So you get a lot of promotions, a lot of discounts, a lot of assistance. It is so seamless, hassle-free.
Yeah, and I think it's very crucial for entrepreneurs to focus on their business more than these legalities and administration. And I also have first-hand experience of what you're saying in terms of opening a company in Dubai. And Yeah, I can also comment on it was very hassle-free and seamless. A lot of people compare when it comes to opportunities in Europe versus opportunities in Dubai if they want to move out of India, right? And it comes down to cost of living comparison as well. So how is the cost of living in Dubai?
I would say that you can reduce the cost of living or you can live the life that you want. It ultimately depends on the person, how much you are earning, what are your goals, and what you're looking at. See, there are places within Dubai also where rentals are like just 30 to 40,000 dirhams. And there are places where the rentals go up to 200,000. So you can pick up the locality. And because of the infrastructure, even the metro, you can commute within half an hour to any place within Dubai. So it is only for you to decide where you want to stay. What is your goal? Why do you move to Dubai? So in case if you really want to have that luxurious stay, yes, Dubai gives you opportunity. I think Dubai gives opportunity for all. So if you want to reduce the cost bit and settle down and build your own corpus, you have a target amount in your mind, then that is also fine. That is also possible. Vegetarian food or even the non-veg product, the food is cheaper when you eat outside. It is really cheap. It's not that expensive. And obviously, the petrol is cheaper. Infrastructure is good. Commuting, it takes only 30 minutes. Talking about the major areas of expense, which is supposed to be for a family, is education, healthcare, and rent. For rent, you can just keep a bracket of 30,000 dirhams till 200 to 50,000 dirhams also. It depends on the area that you're choosing. Go near Palm Jumeirah or, downtown and the rents are high. And if you just choose some other areas where, rents can be as low as 35, 40,000 dirhams and so.
So Kirtan, can you also tell us what is the tax structure in UAE?
Yes, see, in UAE, recently they have come up with corporate tax of 9%, which is one of the least tax rate. And over and above 375,000 for businesses. And in case of even individuals, they're not corporate. In case of individuals also, their turnover exceeds 1 million dirham, then they will have to pay 9%. That's it. So there is no income tax. So whatever you are taking, you're taking home. And 5% VAT. It has been introduced from 2018. So considering the rate, I'm very sure with Europe, I guess it's very high, right? Income tax and indirect tax.
Yes,
really.
I pay 50% tax.
Yeah, see, 50%. Here, whatever you're going to get, it straightly goes to your pocket. So this is the beauty of Dubai, I would say, that the income tax is not there. And the 9% corporate tax, that's okay. 5% VAT, that is also okay, considering the pay that you get here. And ease of life. And, I'm actually in love with the city, I would say.
No, definitely. And that was quite visible from your elaboration about the benefits in Dubai. Okay, Kirtan, so I hear a lot of reforms when it comes to being a progressive society in Dubai as well. Can you highlight some of the examples?
Government post-COVID, Dubai has come up with a lot of reforms in everything, whether it is in visas or to attract highly talented people. And it is actually a liberal country, So if the restaurant or the bar, they have license, you can buy liquor from there. Nothing, stops you from doing that. And one more thing that I would like to highlight is, it's the first country where they have allowed living relationship. Even if you are not married, you can live together in Dubai. So this is really progressive, I would say. And even in terms of visa, see, they have done a lot of visa. If you are remotely working and if you want to live in Dubai, you can do that. And you have freelancers visa. And you have even golden visa. Means, see, if you buy a real estate worth of 2 million, then you get 10 years visa. So this is where they are taking citizenship off the table and allowing people to have, room for long-term planning. And even if you're an entrepreneur, you can have golden visa. So through investment or real estate investment, and even for certain skill sets and the knowledge which is listed out there, you can apply for golden visa. And the benefit of golden visa is like you don't have to have any local sponsor. You can sponsor your immediate family members, siblings, even domestic health. It is easy to get. So one of the important thing in golden visa, which I like this, you can afford to stay outside Dubai for more than 6 months. Otherwise, you should be here, not losing your residency. You can, get your golden visa and, be outside Dubai. So there are a lot of visa reforms to retain high talents within the country and a lot of lifestyle reforms also they have done. So many things, I think they'll come up with many more in the future.
Yeah, I think those are in line with their futuristic and ambitious plans as well. So I think those would be doing good to that as well. So Kirtana, there is a lot of focus on India-UAE relations as well. There was a recent visit of Prime Minister Mr. Modi in UAE, and there were a lot of MOUs signed. And I think Bharat Mart was one of them. Can you highlight what it is?
India and UAE They want to achieve $100 billion worth of non-oil trade by 2030. All these economic corridors, as well as Bharat Mart, they are in alignment with this goal. Bharat Mart is actually a concept like Dragon Mart, So where they have, it is hosted by DP World, and it is set up in Jabaladi. Bharat Mart will be fully operational by 2025. So we will get to know all the details only by then. When you think of India's Make in India, India has an ambitious plan, right? So India's Make in India, what they need is logistical support and the warehousing. Dubai's strategic position, see now the geographical proximity. So for Indian producers, manufacturers, so it's going to be of a lot of advantage because they can have an access to Africa, Europe, and even any part of the world they want.
So I wanted to ask you about some of the common mistakes that you would say that, NRI folks do when it comes down to taxation and investing.
Yes. See, first one is to understand who is NRI, and it has to be visited, it has to be analyzed every year in case if you're going to India and if you end up staying for a certain number of days, if you are taking up some kind of, assignment, maybe temporary in nature, you should talk to the expert and see that you are not, going to be categorized as a resident. In that case, even the foreign income can be taxed. And always filing the tax return, I would say that it's better because, I have also understood that most of the problems last year, NRS have faced is they never logged into the portal. They never saw what kind of notice they have received. They did not bother answering them. So that straight went to the proceedings, complicating the matter. So NRI taxation, I would always suggest that, whenever there is some assignment, not only retirement planning, where you are going to stay in India, please consult. Plan your stay, plan everything in advance. And always it's better to file the tax return. It's not that it's touching the double taxation that time only you are coming and you are filing. Before you get the notice, if you keep declaring everything, keep everything transparent, you will never get notice. You don't even have to bother, right, about answering and all. So regarding the investment, I actually have started mutual fund to promote, or I would say that to educate NRIs about the importance of equity and what happens if you ignore it. Most of the NRIs, when they come here, it's for social signaling, it's for social validation. Obviously, the fancy cars are there, but the next blunder that they do is they take up real estate back home. And how much time are they going to spend? Probably not even 1 month in a year. They say that when we go back, we want that house. When we go back, that's where the need is there. We want that home, not immediately. So what happens? There is 3 to 4% currency depreciation in terms of dollar I'm talking about every year. And they take heavy loan. Real estate is an asset where it's built on leverage. It's built on debt. It's not that 100% equity you have in it. In case if you're buying apartment, it is a depreciating asset. And, they say that land is scarce, right? What about the sky? If there is no limit to that, it is not scarce. That means there is always availability of apartments. So it's not that, it's a scarce and that's why it's growth or the capital appreciation happens because of that. So now think 3 to 4% currency depreciation, interest coming closer to 8%. And I have observed that even the rental yield, it is largely 3 to 5% in India. And annualized capital appreciation, if you take, it doesn't cross 6%. So at the end of the loan term, when you look back, you probably make zero return. You don't make any return. And in these years, probably 10 to 15 years of the fruitful years, I would say, what one person essentially would have done is converting that asset into liability. Because major portion is taken by EMI, how much more is discretionary? You don't have that space to think of other investment, right? So ignoring equity. And that too for a house which you are going to live probably after you return. In Dubai, when you go and eat out, anyway, you would end up spending around 1,500 dirham per month. It's coming close to 30,000 Indian rupees. I would give you the idea how powerful equity is. Let's assume that you keep that amount for equity. You put it into, simple index or a good mutual fund basket. Every month, you do this SIP, 30,000 every month. Continue this. First 12 years, it takes for you to see first 1 crore. So your portfolio will show you 1 crore after 12th year. Gaurav, the next 1 crore when the portfolio gives you within 4 years. Next 1 crore within 2 years. Next 1 crore within 1 year. Next, you will see a day when every year your portfolio will keep giving you 1 crore whether you want it or not. That is the power. So whenever you are earning that $1 or £1 or 1 dirham, you should think of making the value to 1.07 plus. Otherwise, it's just gone. The capital has been eroded. That's it. And you realize at the age of 45, time matters a lot in compounding. 15-year-old starting 1,000 rupees of investment and 50-year-old starting 1 lakh investment. It matters a lot. They lose time for compounding. So I want people to consider equity in their portfolio. At least the restaurant bill, as I've said, that can be kept for, you don't need huge amount to become rich. I don't agree with that. It is just a careful planning and a systematic commitment, not doing any research, just going and buying some retirement plan, pension plan under the beautiful presentation and ratings packs, missell the products. You do a calculation of IRR, internal rate of return. It doesn't even come many of the times close to 6%. Better in keep it in fixed deposit. Why do you want somebody else to give you a retirement plan? Instead of what happens? There are many plans where they say that, okay, you pay 30,000 rupees every month. And, after 13 years, we will start giving you that 30,000. I read a scheme where it said that 30,000 per annum you have to pay for 13 years. Then there is a cooling off time for 2 years. So after 15th year, we will pay you 30,000 for life till 85. So this guy was very happy. What a retirement provision I'm going to get. But if you consider the present value of the money, your today's 1 rupee is much more valuable than your tomorrow's 1 rupee. Now think what your 1 rupee has a value after 15 years. So technically you're giving that 1 rupee to somebody and letting that to lose its value and probably receiving 40 paisa after 15 years. That kind of simple logic also doesn't come with anyone's mind. They simply walk into that trap of retirement plan where you have to calculate IRR. If it is 6%, 7%, better go and keep it in bank FD. Why even that complicated product, which you don't understand? So I would say that understanding the power of equity and going and taking exposure to the pure products like mutual funds or even the index investment, it's better because the same contribution can give you huge corpus at that time period. These are the 2 investment mistakes which I have been saying repetitively on everyday basis, which one should consider avoiding.
No, definitely. And I think you highlighted that with a beautiful example and a good calculation that shows power of compounding. And I've talked to a lot of experts who suggest what you're suggesting. And I think that awareness is coming, right? And if you look at the newer generation, they are more interested towards equities than the real estate, which is considered as a safe investment by, the older generations. What if we turn, instead of buying a property on a loan, to buying property upfront with all the money that you have in cash? Then the equation turns better.
Yeah. See, even if you have 100% equity, how much real estate can give you? Even let's assume that you are putting 3 CR, 1 CR, whatever amount, how much it can grow? That calculation it should run in your mind. And what I have observed in my experience, all the data also speaks the same thing. Particular cycle, when now there is a real estate cycle, it is in its favor. So at that time you see boom, you feel that yes, rentals are increasing, everything is increasing, I have to buy. But can you get the same performance by this real estate as an asset class over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Can you see that yes, I am going to compound my particular X amount at least 12 to 13% over 10 years, over 12 years, over 15 years? You understood? It's not possible. It doesn't happen. So see, I would not say that it is bad asset class, but I see really many young NRIs who are probably in their early 20s, early 30s making these mistakes. That's where I really feel that why they are making this mistake. If you are above 45 and you have decided that you're going to stay in that house and it is not a house for you, right? It has a lot of emotions also. Don't consider it as an investment. Then you should go for it. But when you're just purely thinking of real estate as an asset class, can it compound your wealth in a given predictable percentage? So Gaurav, and if you again go and dig more into that, you will find out that as generation by generation, we are getting poor, we are not getting rich. Look at the engineering salary, look at any salary, how it was probably 10 years, 15 years back. It is almost, it has not increased. It is not even keeping, it is not even in line with the inflation. I have seen in India, people getting around immediately after engineering, or normal average college, I would say, 5 to 6 lakhs per annum. And it is largely safe, even today. So, but look at the price. It needs upfront investment, and it is an irreversible decision, right, for most of the people. So, and I have specifically made a point, when you are in one foreign country, investing back in India, with that intention to live in that house after 10, 50, 20 years, and paying loan at that tenure. That's what I'm commenting upon.
It totally makes sense. And it's also some of the things that we need to look at when it comes to return is supply demand. I think emotions are also one of the key parameters when it comes to real estate investing, because a lot of people think of owning something, maybe apartment or a home. So emotions do play a role as well. And I think at the same time, it's the risk-taking appetite. And that's why I said comparison between risk-reward is essential when you make such decisions. So it's really true that even in real estate, especially in India, for an NRI, it's a very risky investment. I have a fact that 80% of cases that NRIs face are in real estate. Whether they have sued the owners or something like that. So that there is risk in both of these situations. One has to analyze their own personal appetite for risk. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank you and wish you well from Staying Indian family for your consulting and journey. And thanks for having the time to talk to us. Jai Hind.
Okay, Jai Hind.